Good evening, Grace Life Church, and I'm so happy to be bringing this episode of Getting to Know You to you on Wednesday night or whenever you're watching. I've got Elijah with me here.
Hi.
Yeah, he's the guy with the best beard in church.
Of course.
See this? And do you have it all oiled today?
Of course.
Of course, always.
Of course.
And Elijah is, most of you would think he's a quiet man, and he is, but he's got a lot of personality and a lot of stories to tell.
I do.
So let's just get right into it tonight. Elijah, first off, I want to ask you, you are one of 4 brothers, is that right?
That is right, yeah.
So at your house, was it action adventure? Was it a Western shootout, or was it a sitcom?
So have you seen the sitcom Malcolm in the Middle?
Yes. Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yeah, so I like to watch that show because it reminds me a lot of of growing up.
Which one were you?
Probably Malcolm. So I was the smart one. Yeah,
It's okay to say that.
I was smart. Good in school, on a roll and all that, athlete. I was the student body president, so I was kind of the good one, I guess. But, I got into some.
Good son.
Yeah, pretty much. I never really got into a whole lot of trouble. My brothers did. So, but we did a lot of stupid things.
Well, you were second.
I was second.
So
yes.
you were like I'm second out of 4. I learned from watching my sisters and my brother, and so then I didn't repeat the same mistakes they made. Is that how you were?
Kind of.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So there was my older brother Ryan. He was from my dad's first marriage. Then there was me, and then Caleb, and then Jacob was the youngest.
Yes.
Caleb and I are like a year apart, and then Jacob was 5 years from Caleb.
Okay.
Him and Caleb have the same exact birthday, which is.
As long
Yeah.
as I've known your family, I did not
You
know
didn't-
that. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of craziness. A house full of boys. We did boy things. So one time, Caleb and I were just going at it. We were just beating each other up. And my mom just walked in, and she just told us to take it outside, and she just kind of left it at that. So
Well, your mom
And
was that
so-
kind of a mom.
she was, and so just stuff like that, and we just, yeah. So kind of the way it was. So I'll just tell this story. Somehow we came into getting dart guns.
Okay.
I don't know, I think we bought them. And we went into, we were shooting things, then we went into shooting each other, and then we went into shooting ourselves, like, I dare you to shoot this part of your body, I dare you to shoot this part of your body. And then,
Dear.
so they wouldn't do it, so I was like, I'll do it, whatever. So I went into shooting, I think I shot the top of my foot, which that hurt because it was all bones,
Are we talking darts, real darts?
Yeah, they're like quarter-inch.
Oh, I was
They're
thinking
pretty-
like Nerf.
No, they're like real dart guns.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
so I
These
shot-
are the pentographs.
Yeah. So, and then I went to shoot the back of my calf, right here.
Yeah.
And then I took the dart out, and the blood just started squirting everywhere.
How old
And-
were you?
Oh, I had to be in high school or something
my
like
goodness.
that. And then, and my parents weren't home, of course. And then, so blood was just going everywhere. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And so I got something to wrap it up, and then, so it was just stuff like that
Yeah.
we would do. And of course, they weren't home, so they didn't figure it out until years after the fact when we told them. And yeah.
So are you one of the sons that your mom would scare or try to scare?
Oh, she would always scare us. So when we were young, really, really young, the movie Arachnophobia about the spiders.
Oh, yeah,
all
and the
that. So
movie.
my mom, she likes scary movies.
I know,
So,
yeah.
So she watched it, and of course, we would watch the movies with her, right? So I grew up watching X-Files and all that kind of stuff. And so she would go get these little spiders, and then she would throw it on us.
Like real spiders?
No, like the fixed,
Plastics, yeah, yeah.
So she would go throw them on us, when we're sleeping or something, try to scare us, or hide underneath the bed and grab our feet.
She's told me about that.
So yeah, there was always.
So you were terrorized as a child, basically,
Kind of,
between 3 brothers and a mom
Pretty
that thought
much.
scary was fun.
Yeah. So it was always something going on at that.
So where did you grow up?
Grew up. We lived in Roseville for a couple years,
Mm-hmm.
and on the coast when we were really young. My dad had a job on the coast. I don't remember a whole lot from
Mm-hmm.
that time, but then mainly in Lincoln. Grew up in Lincoln.
Lincoln grade schools, elementary,
Yeah.
the junior high and
went
high
to
school?
Coppin, and then the Glen Edwards, and then high school.
Cool. And now you said your dad worked on the coast. What does your dad do?
He was a police officer for
No
many,
kidding.
many years.
Yeah.
Many years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sheriff?
He was a sheriff on the coast, and then he was a Roseville police officer for many, many years.
Well, that's probably had a pretty drastic impact on your life, especially with the tensions in America right now, the Blue Lives Matter. And so growing up as the son of a police officer, how did that impact you?
It was definitely different in the house. He was strict on some things, obviously, and then some things you think he would be, but he wasn't. But growing up, and we just never knew if he was going to come home. I mean, he was a cop. So he would go out, and he did undercover work for some years. He was a bike cop for some years. He got into some accidents, and we just never knew. And he obviously took his job seriously, like he should. And I went on some ride-alongs with him, so I saw firsthand like what he did. And he would always have to sit in a certain spot in a restaurant because he had to see everything.
Right, I remember.
And so, and then now I kind of have that mentality too. So I always have to see everything. So, and be kind of in the know-how of everything. He gave that to me. And so I'm very protective of my kids.
Right.
And I learned that from him. And even like in the church now, like I'm always I'm looking around.
You're aware.
And I'm always aware of what's going on. And it's kind of one of those instincts I have. And I learned that from him because he taught us and he showed us. And it's just one of...
Well, you hear it often, like on TV or interviews, people saying, like what you just said, that you're never sure if they're going to come home. Yeah. So that was a real thing.
Yeah, it was.
So especially like if you heard sirens go off, if you knew there was a high-speed chase or something, did everybody in your family go to, where's Dad? Is Dad going to be okay?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. The shooting in Roseville with the officer that actually died in the...
Yes.
My dad was actually with him when that happened, and that had big impact on him.
Right.
And even to this day it does. So, I mean, I've seen firsthand with the job what I can do to somebody. And so with the environment that's today in this nation, it's just, it hurts.
Yes, it does. Well, because you grew up with honor and respect for police
Yeah,
officers.
I did.
And your dad's retired now.
He is.
Thank God for that. Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how he would do it today.
Yeah.
So whenever something happens, and it's just like, we feel it. Like
I'm sure.
We support. My dad still supports various organizations helping out police officers to this day. But yeah, I mean, we support all.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so.
Grace Life Church supports, yes. Now, just for some of you that might not know, Elijah's mom is on the worship team. She's the blonde that stands right over on the other side of the piano by me. And we've been friends since we were 17 years old. And your mom sang at my wedding. And you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Yes, she sang at my wedding. Well, I should say our wedding, me and Pastor. But now tell me a little bit about, you've lived in Lincoln your whole life. So have you gone to Grace Life most of your life?
Yeah, this was the only church I knew for a long time. So, yeah.
And how long were you gone?
I left for, 10 years, I think, something like that. I was away from church for, I want to say about a decade. I was away from church altogether.
Now, does that mean when you say away from church that you just broke fellowship with the church, broke fellowship with God? What was going on in that time?
Yeah, things happen, life happens, and you kind of just go your own way, do your own things, and I did not go to church. I don't think I stepped foot in church for about 10 years, and didn't have the best life for those 10 years.
Wow.
And I think I came back for Carly Lovejoy's funeral, and that was hard. And then after that, I don't think I came back until God called me back. And then yeah.
Well, I would love to ask you about questions now, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Can you tell me, you got married. How old were you when you got married?
19.
So you married
20.
young?
Yeah, I married. We met. So I'm divorced now, but my ex-wife and I, we met at college. We met. We only knew each other for a year, and then we got married. Then we had my first son shortly after that, and so now we have 3 kids.
Yes.
And 2 of them are teenagers now. So
That's hard to believe.
I know.
I know. When we were around the teenagers that are now having teenagers.
I know it goes by really quick, but it was.
Well, what was your young adult life like?
Well, we into college. The whole idea is going to college is to finish college, but then
Yeah.
when you start a family, things change.
Yes.
And when you're not serving God the way you should, to me, priorities changed. And instead of, God first, it was kind of the world first, and then things to me fell apart. And just, it was, to me, I was just young, I was naive, I was just being stupid.
Making
And then-
impetuous decisions?
Pretty much. And honestly, the marriage wasn't great. It wasn't her. To me, it was mainly me.
Okay.
And
Well, speak to that. I
Yeah.
mean, there's young men who are watching that they're probably like, what do I do with my marriage? Do you feel like that you didn't take as much responsibility for your marriage? Or what was it that you say it was me?
To me, I was being selfish.
Oh.
I wasn't putting her and the kids first. I was young. To me, it just should have had different priorities, like the family, instead of,
I think,
and it's when you're young, you're thinking about different things than what I'm at now.
Right.
Knowing what I know now, if I could have gone back then.
yes, touche.
But now it's just thinking back, I made a lot of bad decisions, stupid choices. And I was in a very dark place as well, as like spiritually, emotionally, and everything else. I mean, I was going through a lot of stuff. I've been through a lot of stuff.
Is it okay to ask you, like when you say a lot of stuff, you mean emotional? Was there just partying? What was it that started bringing you down?
No, I honestly didn't do my partying phase, I guess you want to call it that, until after I got divorced.
Okay.
After I got divorced, I went like off the deep end for years. But during the marriage, it's hard to explain. I just wasn't there.
Oh, I
like,
understand
like
what you
just
mean.
like mentally, like I just wasn't there. It's like it just.
And you don't even realize that, like you said, until you're older now, and that you see the void that was created.
I didn't realize I wasn't there until it was too late.
Right.
Until she kind of said, "I'm done."
She's done.
And then by that time, I was like, "Okay, well."
How long were you married?
8 years.
Oh, that's a good long time.
Yeah, 8 years.
So you've gotten some stuff right and some stuff wrong.
Yeah, but then when I wanted to get things right, she was
It's too
emotionally
late.
checked out.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her for
Right.
it. I really don't. And she's a great person. She's a good mom to the kids, and
It's a good commentary.
yeah. And so I don't say anything bad about her at all. She's a great person. But it just didn't work out for us. And sometimes that happens.
Sometimes it does.
And so, but now, so we got 3 kids. We have 3 kids. And we also had two miscarriages as well.
Oh, that's hard on any
And
family.
before we had Logan, we had 2 miscarriages. We were young when we had those miscarriages. And I think in a way that had an impact on us as well. And I don't think either of us handled it in a good way.
Well, and I think knowing you, that you are still learning to handle that. You have some emotional moments over the loss of those 2 children.
I still do. I
Yeah.
still think about it. Every day. Every day I think about it.
You do.
Every day.
And so for those of you that have lost a child, there's many different ways that you can lose a child, through accidental death, a miscarriage, maybe an abortion. But you can have hope that those children are in heaven today and that you will see them again, just as you and I have talked, and you know that you will see those babies in heaven.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in Ecclesiastes, it says that God will make everything beautiful in its time. And so I may not have understood it back then. I understand it now. even if somebody does have an abortion. Like, don't live with the guilt. Don't live with the
Right.
shame. God will make it beautiful in His
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
And God sets eternity
Yes,
in the
in our
heart
hearts.
of everyone.
Right.
And just know that our children, whether they're here or not, they're in heaven. And I just saturate myself in that fact,
Yes.
knowing that my kids are in heaven, being taught by Jesus, being taught
Yes.
by Abraham, being taught by all those who are before us.
Yes.
And that when we get to heaven, when I get to heaven, that they'll be teaching me stuff that I don't even know.
Right.
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 And then when I get to heaven, they're gonna take me into Jesus because I want to know where He's at.
Right.
Because heaven's this big, big vast place, right? So they're gonna say, "Come on, Daddy, let's go see our daddy." Right?
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
So, I was just. This has been recently, like the last month or two, where this has just been downloading into my spirit about all of this. Like, why, I don't know why, but it is.
Well,
And-
I think the Lord is teaching us in the days that we live in compassions for people.
Yeah.
Because the depth of pain that people go through, live with, that He doesn't want us to endure. And so you're coming out of those things. I don't mean endure. He doesn't want us to be stuck in those places. And you're coming out of those with a whole basket load of help for people.
Yeah.
And I believe you're just being downloaded by the Spirit of God to speak into these particular life situations to bring compassion and hope to people.
I do too. God just told me like recently too. He goes, "You have like 30 years of building up walls." I'm a pretty guarded person, you know that. And he goes, "But I have to tear those walls down." He told me that. So
Thank God they're coming down a lot faster than they were built.
pretty much. Yeah. I'm like,
Okay, so let me ask you a fun question.
Okay.
So he's an unusual man. So you have some phobias and stuff that the average person would not know because you just walk through the church quietly. Tell us a little bit about that part of you that's, fun and entertaining to the rest of us.
So I did an exercise with my kids recently. I was like, if you can describe me in one word, what would it be? And Conan, he's my middle child. He's kind of the smart one. He'll say something kind of.
He's intellectual.
He's very intellectual. He was like, "Dad, you're a germaphobe." I'm like,
okay.
very, very, very right on. So I'm very much a germaphobe. Like a lot of things kind of gross me out, and so like I go out to dinner a lot with Cameron. Like
Yes.
after we do these recordings, like we'll go out to dinner and stuff like that. Like I always have to order a water with no lemon because
They've touched the lemons.
Yeah, and they don't clean them right. It's gross. Ugh, it's gross. And so there's stuff like that, and like one time we were at your house. I can't remember who was all there. I think Cameron was there. You brought out like this beautiful dish of like peaches or something. I don't know if you remember this. You're like, "Yeah, everybody just help yourself." But there was like no forks or anything. You were just like, everyone just grab them. I wouldn't touch them. I was like, no. I think I just said I'm not hungry.
I'm not hungry.
Yeah, but I didn't want to like impose my weirdness on anybody. So
I think there's a whole club of people like you.
But Cameron just like eventually said he won't touch it because.
Yes.
Then you're like, oh, well, then you just
Get a fork.
Yeah, and so there's that, and then like I'm always like hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Not because of like COVID. It's just like
You've always been that way.
I've always been that way, and just it's just.
So another thing I want to ask you, when you were young, maybe like the high school years, did you have aspirations towards a particular thing in life that still influences you today?
I think I've always known I've been called to the ministry.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even like when William Jessup first opened, like 2004, I went, and the first year I went about 1 year, and I went to major in pastoral studies. And I went that 1 year, did fine that 1 year, but then I left and just focused on the family, and then and that's never left me.
Did something happen like when you were in junior high or high school, like through youth camp or some kind of church service or alone at home? Did something happen where you felt called?
I don't remember a specific event or anything like that. I've always I've always heard the Spirit. I know the call, like I know the voice of the Spirit. I always have. And I've always been obedient. Oh, I can't say that.
I understand what you mean.
I've always tried to be obedient. Because even when those 10 years where I wasn't serving, I heard the voice. I just wasn't listening to it.
Right.
So I've always known, and I've always had that calling and that passion. But so now, I'm going to the Bible school, and I'm going to finish in October. And so Bible says to make every effort to confirm your calling. And
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm doing that now. And
Is that what pulled you out of that dark place? You said you know the voice of the Spirit. He talks to you. Was that something specific that you were in a dark place in life, it called you out? Because the callings of God continually call us.
so there was, towards the end of my marriage, I was suicidal.
Okay.
But it wasn't the first time. So I was suicidal as a young man, like middle school.
Okay.
And I was actually about to kill myself. And I felt, and I couldn't go through with it. And at that time, I didn't know why. And then in 2017, when I rededicated myself to Christ, he told me then, I'll never forget this, he goes, in your time of need back then, he goes, I showered down my peace, because my supernatural peace on you in your time of need. When you needed it the most, I showered. And the feeling was, it says in Philippians where it's a undescribable peace.
Yes.
And that's what it felt like. It was just like this wall, this shower of something where I couldn't move. I just stood there and cried for who knows how long.
And that was in 2017?
That's when he told me that. And this happened back in middle school.
Right.
So, before 2099, 98, 99.
Yes.
So 20 years later is when he told me. Because if he would have told me that then, I probably wouldn't have listened to it. I probably wouldn't have cared, and because of the place where I was at.
Right.
And so
That was really a supernatural intervention.
yeah, because I was listening to it into 2017, right? But at the end of my marriage, in early 2010s, I was in a dark place, and I was suicidal. I don't want to say still or again. I don't know what the right word to say there, but and I was very dark place. Like my ex-wife was telling me that she goes, I would just look in your eyes, and she goes, I would see nothing.
So emotionally, mentally,
Everything,
physically,
everything. She goes, I didn't even know who you were.
huh?
And there was a time where I know I heard demons. Where I would lay down one night to go to bed, and I heard my name clear, and I know it wasn't.
It wasn't the Spirit of God.
No, it was like, and I jumped out of bed. Like that's how audible it was, and it freaked me out.
Well, thank God the
And-
Spirit of God pulled you out of that dark place.
Yeah, I was bad there for a while, and I went into a lot of dark areas, but yeah. So in 2017, I got called back. I went to another church in Roseville for a couple years, and I thank God that church got me prepared to come here, and I'm so thankful that I went there. Got me prepared for what I'm doing here.
So it feels like life has come full circle.
It
You
has.
started out at Grace Life Church. You got saved here in Children's Church.
I did.
And now here you are back serving in the house and very close to Pastor and I and serving with us, alongside of us. And I love how God brings things full circle. And it's a pleasure to have you back here. Most people, like I said at the beginning, don't know you, but he's worth knowing. Take him out to lunch sometime. He'll bring the hand sanitizer. So tell me this before we close. We've been talking for about 35 minutes already. Tell me, what is it that motivates you, that drives you today in your family, in your personal life, in your studies? What makes you want to get up every day?
Obviously, my kids, you know, they're. I'm thankful I have them because there was a time where I almost lost them with everything I was going through. I almost lost them, and I'm so thankful. And then my relationship with them was torn for a bit because of all the stuff I was going through, and so I'm thankful I have them first. And so that's one motivation for me, and it's taken me a while to mend that relationship, to be honest. But kids are so resilient, and they're so forgiving, and
Yeah.
and my kids are awesome, and they come up and talk to you
all the time.
So
Logan likes to give me advice. I love it.
so that's one motivation, and and God has put so many visions and ideas in my heart, and that's getting me going too. And I'm just working on that.
Well, one of the things that I know about you that Elijah does is he understands processes, and he helps me a lot talk through something like, if you do this, how many people is that going to affect? Where does it start? When do you know when it's ended? And what are you going to do about this on the in-between? So it seems like you really understand systems and processes, and you use that in your job too, don't you?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Yep.
Are you a tough manager?
When I need to be. I don't like to be, but sometimes, employees act dumb, so you just have to.
Employees act dumb.
So you just have to. You have to.
Yeah.
Be a boss. So,
yeah.
I've been managing for a long time.
I know you have.
And so sometimes the job just gets routine.
Yes.
But employees, the people part of it that's always.
Well, that's a
That
challenge,
keeps you
but
fresh.
yes.
So when I train like new managers or like new assistants, I'm like, this job is pretty easy, but the people part of it, that's like 90% of this job.
Right.
And so you just.
We talk about that often, Elijah and I do, about people, relationships. Ministry is all about people. So we've got to, and management, your job, it's all about people.
Yeah.
So we have to, in life, get the people thing right.
Yeah. So
And our kids help us with that, don't they?
Yeah, so having kids definitely has helped me to soften me. A daughter has definitely helped.
Yes.
And
she's a girly girl.
Dad needs daughter. Every dad needs a daughter, and she's definitely a girly girl, and she's spoiled and she knows it. Like, and I'm okay with I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, but for me it's been because there's like the employer side. Like it's a corporate job, right? So then there's the ministry side. So for me the challenge has been there's ministry, there's grace, and there's that on the ministry side. But with the job, like, I can't really have grace a whole lot on the corporate side. Like,
Right.
There's black and there's white.
Because you're answering to somebody else.
Yeah, like it's not my business. It's
their
their business.
Yeah.
But then when you're in the ministry, there's supposed to be grace
Yes.
and love and like.
And grace multiplied.
Yeah. So like, I try to bring that into the job, but sometimes it's like, you just can't do that. Like
You got to look up at Jesus and say, it doesn't work here.
and there's been employees that just test your patience, and you're just like. Sometimes I just go to my office and just hide for like 20 minutes, like try to
Breathe in, breathe out.
But before, like, it would just be like I would just lose it on them and just be like. So I've.
But the gracious words that Jesus spoke are becoming part of your life too.
Yeah, so I have definitely changed a lot my management style because of the graciousness of ministry. So
last question. What is your desire for yourself and your family?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, my desire for me, for my family, is to grow up, for my kids to grow up in the church like I did, which I don't have them full time, so it's hard at times, right? And then for them to have church like I had church, and it's not that way right now,
Right.
But so that's kind of what I want right now, and they just sometimes don't understand it.
Sure.
But that's kind of, they're coming around to
And
it.
they're teenagers.
And they're teenagers right now.
Yeah, remember
Right
how
now,
you were.
Yeah, I know. my son just kind of goes, whatever, Dad. It's kind of his response to me right now. So
Well, and I think, speaking to other parents with teenagers that you're like, I just wish they would, I think I would sum it up by saying we want our children to know Jesus.
yeah,
And if they find that in the church or if they find that at youth camp or through a mentor or something, we just want them to know Jesus.
yeah. And I prayed for that. Prayed for laborers to come their
Yes.
way, whether it's me or somebody else. I don't care. As long as they come to know
Right.
Jesus, they come to know the ways. And
It doesn't have to be our way.
no, it doesn't.
It's God, however our Father wants to reveal himself to our kids.
And if there's an opening for me to say something, reveal something, then yeah, of course.
And you ask the Lord for that. You ask
Yeah.
him to open doors for you to
Yeah.
opportunities to speak to your kids.
Yes, all the time.
Yes.
And if there's any opportunity, let me have that opportunity.
I think that we could honestly say about Elijah, the biggest thing in his life is his family, his children, because in every conversation we've had here, every question, it comes back to your children. And so now for yourself, what is your desire? Hey, I'll just put it out there. Do you ever want to get married again?
I knew that was
Thanks a lot,
yeah,
right?
I knew that was going to come up. Yeah, of course. But here's the thing with that. So, of course, yes. But it has to be like all God. Like
You have to know that you know.
yes, because part of the 10 years where I was away, I didn't have like the best. My decisions with women wasn't great. Let's just put it that way.
That's fair.
So it was pretty much all like drunkenness and women. Like it wasn't a good time of my life.
Okay.
And so now I'm always very self-aware around women, and I just never know if it's me or if it's God, like what is going on. Like I don't want to go back down that road, right? So I'm
Sure.
always like I just
Yeah.
never know. So it's like, so if it is God, like God make it happen. Like that's kind of like.
That's interesting because just this morning I was talking to a woman saying the same thing. And I think when you've done it wrong before, you can complicate it.
Yep, you can.
And so when I believe that when it's the right one, you'll be like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And I know that you have a great desire for the house of God to be in ministry. And how does that, I know you and I talk about confirming your calling. You are doing that proactively right now.
Yeah.
Going to school, serving in the house, just being at the right place at the right time. It's a huge deal to us. And it's a huge deal to you in your life.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm called right now to serve pastors. That's why at the other church I was at, I helped that pastor with getting things in order for him, and then that helped me come here to help you and pastor with pretty much whatever you need,
Everything.
right?
Yep.
Right. So, and then wherever there's a need, I just try to help, and I feel that's getting me ready for whatever
Absolutely.
God has ready in store for me for the next chapters.
Yes.
Of my
While
life.
he takes these next 30 years to tear the walls down.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it won't take that
I
long.
know. I hope not. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's been a pleasure for you and I to get to know Elijah better. And when you see him around church, wave, say hi, shake his hand. Oh, no, don't shake his hand unless you did this first.
yeah.
But even those of you on Facebook Live that maybe have never been inside the house, you can know him by knowing the fact that whenever you see Facebook, you hear sound, you see technology happening around. Elijah's very much part of all that. So you actually do get to see the effects of Elijah in the house. And thank you for joining us tonight. We want you to know that everything that you've been through in life is very important. Nothing that you've gone through has been wasted. Nothing about your life is wasted. And Elijah and I were talking about the other day that sometimes you try to figure out how to pick it back up and get started again. And let me tell you, just get started again. You don't have to regain any ground. You don't have to do any penance. You just come before the Lord and say, I'm back. Just as if, when you go to your mom's house, I'm here. That's how it is with our Father. I'm here. And so just get back into the house of God fellowshipping with the Lord, with our Savior, with our Father, and realize that you have a life worth living, just as even we've been talking about this life worth living. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me pray for you. Father, I pray for every person listening, hearing, some that have related to what Elijah has said. Maybe they've lost a child, gone through a divorce, been through dark places in their life, that they would receive hope tonight from listening to this, that there is hope on the other side of every life situation, that Jesus, your cross was more than enough to redeem every life. It was more than enough to make up the difference for everything that we've lacked, every mistake we've made. And we are completely forgiven, and we are completely in your favor tonight. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Good night.
Good night.